Hi, it's Jackie from Cambridge Safety. Welcome to one of our short Take 5 Minutes for Health and Safety videos. So in this short video, we're just going to talk about the management of change. The nature of change within business is it's going at a phenomenal rate at the moment. It's just sort of having procedures to deal with it. The nature of work is constantly changing, not just with COVID, but modern technology, the use of AI, changing work patterns, all these types of things. So you might have a new project where that's reorganizing the building, and these projects might create further additional health and safety risks. They may reduce some of the hazards and risks that you've already been dealing with. So it's making sure that we do consider health and safety during the actual implementation of the change, but also then afterwards, once the change has been brought in, are there going to be some ongoing health and safety issues that we might need to deal with? So think about the types of change projects that your business, might be involved in. So it could be a new process or a new line or a change to an existing one. It could be a new piece of plant or machinery or a new working system. It could be perhaps a move to a new workplace or just reorganising, refurbishment or reorganisation of the workplace that you've got. It could be you've now got less staff than you used to have, or it could be you're expanding and you've got more staff to deal with. Company restructuring. So we're changing departments. We're taken over by another business. These are all things where change is going to happen, and it might have some health and safety consequences. It's worth also thinking that sometimes some change might be temporary, we have to temporarily move people to one part of a building or a different site while something different is being reorganised, etc. So some change is temporary, but equally some is going to be permanent. And you need to be aware that sometimes people are fearful of change. Some people like things the way that they are, and therefore that's going to perhaps lead to staff morale issues or fears and concern. So our good old Health and Safety at Work Act doesn't talk about change, but it does say I'm responsible for the health, safety and welfare of my employees so far as is reasonably practicable. So if you've got some change, that's so far as is reasonably practicable. There's some higher risks, need to deal with them. I've still got my duty to provide a safe place of work. So during the change project, safe plant and equipment. If old equipment is being removed, new equipment put in. Safe systems of work, because we might need to change those because of the nature of the operation. We might be changing a process. Safe use of hazardous substances. We might be changing a substance or removing a substance. We've got the duty to provide training, information, instruction and supervision during the change process, but also afterwards, making sure that's happening. Supported by the management of health and safety at work regs, the requirement to do a suitable and sufficient risk assessment and take precautionary measures. But also there in there, it's also about cooperation, communication, training for staff, that type of thing. Equally, your health and safety policy may have a section on change and how we deal with it. If you've got an accredited health and safety management system, such as 45001, that definitely requires you to make sure you've got procedures and processes in place for managing change, because it knows it can lead to accidents, ill health, and incidents. So try and think about what is the change and what perhaps might the adverse consequences. Could it be accidents? Could it be ill health? But could it be practical things like quality might go down? It might impact on our neighbours or customers, and then try and look at what perhaps the intended consequence of our change is, but equally the unintended. Because sometimes we change something and actually we try and solve a problem. We solve one problem, but we create a few more as well. So we might need to formalise our change management by actually having a policy and a procedure so that it's systematic. We know what we need to cover. And that's going to include perhaps a review of the health and safety issues as soon as is practicable, as soon as possible, not after we've done it and then everything's now not working correctly. Obviously, the more complex, the bigger the project, the higher the risk, the more resources. Health and Safety at Work Act, Section 2. I've got a duty to ensure your health, safety and welfare so far as is reasonably practicable. So the higher the risk, do more. Practical thing though, we need to get some senior management commitment and buying. If they're supporting this change, that's going to then filter down within the organisation. And it's all about these C's: cooperation, coordination, control, consultation, communication, coordination, competence. All of these sorts of things need to be dealt with. So there's not an official list of C's, but all of these management things need to be considered during a change process. Making sure we have done a new suitable and sufficient risk assessment during the change, but then afterwards as well. Make sure we look at the risks from the implementation of the change process. Is it going to mean we're going to have less space? Is it going to be an issue where we're going to be using a different substance? Or equally, is it some of the risks are going to be reduced? Equally, though, it's during the change, but also updating our risk assessment once the change project has been fully implemented. Make sure you consider routine and non-routine issues. So it's not just the change, but are we going to have new maintenance regimes that are going to be needed? Think about the plant and machinery, anything about that, the processes that we do. And don't forget, it's about people as well, because if we don't keep them informed, we don't train them and update them, then we've got an accident waiting to happen. Equally, having a plan B, if we do some change, during that change, we might need to change and adapt our emergency procedures and plans, but equally, once the change is implemented, they might need to be reviewed and updated as well, because our emergency exits might change, how we sound the alarm might have changed. So think about change. What resources do we need to actually make sure this change is done effectively? That could be equipment, people, but also time and planning. Is there going to be some extra workload during the implementation because we're having to take something out, put something in at the same time? Monitoring it as the change project progresses. Is it going well, or are we delayed, or have we come across problems that we now need to deal with? Once the change is implemented, then review what went well, what didn't, what lessons can we learn. So it's making sure it is reviewed as the process is going ahead, but also at the end as well. And it's no different from our ordinary health and safety management model. Plan, the more emphasis you put into planning, then you do the project, risk assessments, think about hazards and risks, check things are going well, and then act and change if there are any improvements that are needed. So a short potted tour about the management of change from a health and safety perspective. This is Jackie from Cambridge Safety. Thanks for watching one of our Take 5 videos. That's www.cambridgesafety.co.uk. Thanks very much.